How Ayurveda helped me as a missing person suspect. Me. 3 points, and then I'll explain. So the 3 points are, we're going to talk about Ayurveda, what it is, so that if something resonates with you, maybe you'll be interested in exploring further. But so you have context to understand what it is and how I actually applied it. Number 2, it was the longest 24, 26 hours of, I wouldn't say my life, because it was quite an experience. I never had anything like this before, but how I handled it, how I used holistic medicine for this kind of a situation. And for those, number 3, for those with anxiety, woohoo, shout out, she was found alive. Okay, so let's get to it and let's talk about Ayurveda just a little bit. Ayurveda. Ayur means life, and Veda means science, or knowledge. It actually has several other meanings as well, because it's not an exact translation, but the idea is it's essentially the book of life. And this is information for people of how to understand their constitution, their proclivities, what foods are best, which herbs, how do I find balance in my lifestyle, and healing practices daily so that I don't require additional pharmaceuticals, but herbals, medicines, treatments, surgeries. That's what this practice is. It's holistic living. It is dated back to about 5 to 10,000 years. And first, 5 to 10,000 years, that's a huge gap. Okay? That's a big gap. How could you not know 5 to 10,000 years? But that's because it was an oral tradition and they sang it. This was before written language. So they would have, various songs of like, if your feet start to swell, then take this herb, but your pee might smell. And I'm totally making that up. That is not one of the sutras that they sang, but they had these songs to teach them, if you have this situation, you have this type of a person, you have this type of an herb, how does this all work together? And now let's change up the scenario. And if you have this type of person, this is what you do. Okay. And they studied beneath a Bodhi tree outside with guru, which is teacher. Guru means heavy in knowledge. And we'll get to that when we talk about gurus, and even probably when we do Sanskrit, because there's some fun stuff in there too. But they sat beneath the Bodhi trees and they learned from their teachers the songs of how to help their clients, okay? But at that time, the clients were royalty. This was not a practice for, fix my crown. Fix my crown. It was for royalty. Not a practice for the everyday man. Kind of interesting, right? You have to have the money for the good treatment. Fortunately, the information was dispersed and shared, and they've been practicing it for 5 to 10,000 years. So if you've heard of yoga is a sister science to Ayurveda. If you are taking turmeric capsules, and you know somebody that takes turmeric or golden milk, that's Ayurveda, baby. Okay, making its way. How about ashwagandha? Oh, we're going to have fun, because I bet you know more about Ayurveda than you thought you knew, okay? So if you've ever watched Ancient Aliens, though, they say that Dhanvantri, the god that rose from the ocean and brought the information to the ancient rishis, who were the wise people, that he was an alien. And something that's really cool is the Vedas are, wise knowledge books, okay, from back in the day. And when you look back into this ancient information, you'll see that they discuss something called Vimanas, which are aliens, the way basically they describe spaceships. So it's pretty cool. But when I heard that, I said, oh, it resonates. I feel like this is why this information has come to me. Where's my family, right? But we don't know about this. We'll have to wait to find out, right? But people say to me, but it's so regimented and it's so structured. how did they actually do everything that they said they do? First of all, they weren't taking their kids to soccer. They weren't answering the phone every 5 minutes. They weren't looking at social media. They weren't responding to notifications. They lived in, modest, like, hut homes, right? And as far as the practice, when I started as a student and got our dinacharya, which is the daily routine, had 26 things on it before breakfast. I was like, you're out of your mind. This is crazy. How did they do all of this? Yeah, because they were up in the mountains, the rishis, meditating, right? And if they had wives or something, they were down at the river beating the clothes on the rocks in the river, cleaning the clothes, taking care of the kids, making the meals. They were doing all of that stuff. Their only task was to meditate and download more information so that they could bring it back to the people and help them survive, understand, what am I supposed to do with this meat suit, right? Spiritual beings, how do we make it mind, body, spirit all work together? And that's what this system is. So how did I apply this as a missing person suspect? Younger friend came over. She came for dinner, and one of the things that I'm known for, Auntie always is like, I always cook, right? And I make desserts and I don't make a whole lot, but maybe I'll make, a dozen of this type of cookie, that type of cookie, this type of cookie. Everything is from scratch. So we chatted way late into the night, but we're here up at the retreat center in the mountains. There are no street lights or anything. I mean, it's pretty desolate up here, okay? It's isolated. And it was just late, and we have all kinds of wild animals outside. Bear, mountain lion, bobcats, snakes. I mean, you name it, everything makes its way down my road. Goat. That one got out. So I said to her, you know what, just stay here tonight and then leave tomorrow. We'll have some breakfast. I don't want you driving. It's too late. It's dark. Stay here. Breakfast, but you have to be out and gone by 1 o'clock. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. Type A. 5 minutes before so I could get out. So she said, okay, I want to go for a walk. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day. I mean, it's really chilly and it's brisk, but I want to check out the area and see more. Okay, there's a park. There's a hiking trail. Have a great time. Before she leaves, I look at her and I give her a plate of cookies. An assortment, of course. I put out a bread. Had some cookies. I gave her the plate. I gave her 2 bottles of water. And I gave her a lighter. I said, you're going to need this. And she's like, oh, no, I don't need the lighter. I said, you are going to need this. I don't even know why I said it. That's what I felt. And I gave it to her. And she left, doing something, getting ready for my meeting, talking to the person who is actually also my friend. And I look out the window and I see her vehicle up in my driveway. I'm we're on the mountain here at the retreat center. So the parking lot is up there, the big driveway. And I see her vehicle and it's 13 minutes after 1. And I said, something is wrong. And if you are a parent or you're empathic or an intuitive or you grew up around trauma and you can almost sense things before they actually happen, that's what happened to me, because I got a punch in the gut. And I think I'm quite sure there are a lot of people out there, they're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've had that happen to me, where you don't even know why, but boom, you know a something, and you maybe even be able to relate it to that person. Okay, so that was the situation. And I said to her, something is wrong. She's only been on 13 minutes. It's fine. No, something is wrong. So a few hours had gone by and she still hadn't returned. And I said, I knew it. Oh my God. So I called the police. They came out. They said, I'm sorry, we can't do anything unless it's 24 hours. I'm like, there is snow on the ground. It's December. It was 21 degrees out. She left in a hoodie, some athletic pants, and little boots without socks. Because she was just going to be gone a short period of time. She didn't have medication with her. She has an illness, a situation she's dealing with. And they said, I'm sorry, 24 hours. So I called her mom, who moved out of state. And her mom's an attorney, and she was an attorney in this state. So I don't know who she called or what she did. But in the interim of me reaching out to her parents through Facebook and just trying to find people. And I remember she talked about this girl. Who is this girl? You got to come to my house. Now you have to understand, I am a shut-in. And it's not some people say, oh, don't say that about yourself. I'm like, excuse me, I'm defining who I am in the sense of please respect my boundaries. Don't be showing up at my house. It's like, I don't have people over. I was getting anxiety because I was bedridden for so long that if I had one person that I said, made in my mind that, okay, I could spend time with this person if somebody else showed up, it was too much for my nervous system. I've been living here a few years already and didn't even have 8 different people at my home. And here, I come to a point where now I have 8 people in my kitchen. Because when I left, I was like, the police aren't coming. I don't know what to do. I'll pick up the ex-boyfriend and their dog and see if the dog can help find her. And in the interim, her daddy comes up, his partner, the ex-boyfriend with the dog. I had to go pick him up. I'm like, as if I'm not enough. Pick him up, come back. Police are all lined up on my street. Detective gets out of the truck. Holy, the man was very large. And I don't mean obese. I mean, he was at least 6'4", maybe 6'6". There's a point in the cabin here that, he had 2 points where he had to duck down because he was taller than the... And so I have this very large man who was commanding, but he was friendly. So I said, okay. And then I started to pay attention. And in that moment of, I have to stay calm. And this is how I used Ayurveda. I was scared. My nervous system is delicate from the neurological condition that I have, as well as the other things going on. And I also didn't know at that time that I was not feeling well because of black mold poisoning. I didn't know that. At that point, I didn't know that in the house yet. And I had rescuers, police officers, a detective, her family members, and coming and going in my home. But I opened it up to them. I didn't know what to do, but I knew as a former EMT, I got this. In the sense of, I'm going to keep the people calm. When I was an EMT, people would actually see me walking up and say, oh, thank God Jones is here. Jones, we need you on this one. And to me, I knew that it was either a child, hysterical mother, somebody with a disability, somebody that needed a special touch. And they needed a special touch. This girl in her 20s, mid-20s, is missing. So as soon as the people started walking in to my home and the detective is asking questions and trying to piece things together, and they've got the forensic guy up there with fingerprints on the vehicle trying to see if they could see anything, and they look in and there's her food and the water and the lighter on the front seat. And I was like, see, I told you I just had this feeling she needed it. But I'm looking at all of these people and I'm seeing from parents to friends to different emotional levels. And in Ayurveda, what they talk about are 3 main constitutions, essentially. And I describe them as a hummingbird, a jaguar, and a bear. The hummingbird's going to eat tiny little bits. It's going to be fluttering around. It's going to be chatting, right? It's a hummingbird type. We have people like that were here. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I mean, what should we do, right? This is one person. Pittas, or jaguars, that's a vata, jaguar, is going to be calculating, thinking, planning, not wasting their energy, watching, waiting to pounce. And the bear, kapha bear, is loving, compassionate, could get stuck, heavy, right? And I'm looking at each person and how they normally present from their body type, how they're speaking, how they should be, their prakruti, and their vikruti. How are they vitiated from I either know their normal presentation or I can see their normal presentation and I can see the imbalances. I had to do that for myself so that I could stay grounded, I could stay present, I could answer questions, I could do what was required of me. I could remember what she was wearing specifically. You think you know, but in that moment, I could tell you, like for a brief moment, I picked up my phone. I didn't know how to make a phone call. I couldn't. Man, give me one of these. Then I would have had it fine. But now I've got the cell phone, which I've had for years and years and years. I don't know. I can't remember how to operate it. And I knew that was feedback to me of too much air. There was too much little hummingbird fluttering around in my brain. And I need to ground it to be a bear so that I'm settled. And I need to shift into my calculating jaguar in observation. And I can't allow the fluttering to move that out of my mind. And so when people are coming in, it was even the detectives, the police, or the detective and the sheriff's officers. How are you speaking to me? How are you carrying yourself? How are the people here? How are they? So I made foods. I made foods with grounding properties. So oatmeal and almond butter, and I had some sugar-free chocolate chips, and I added extra heating spices because it was cold, right? So cold is also like the fluttery bird. I don't want them to get too cold, too fluttery. I need them grounded. I need some heat. I need them thinking. I need them clear, right? Okay, so the spices that I included in the foods that I was making, the beverages that I served. I made a pot of coffee for the officers or, anybody that wanted a boost of caffeine. But I also had cardamom, which helps break down on the jitters. I had coconut milk, which is also grounding. I had maple syrup and honey, right? So I was creating stations because at this point I was like, you're in my hut now. And I need you to behave the way I need you to behave. And I don't mean this as hubris. This was for me to be able to orchestrate the people, to keep them calm, to keep them grounded, to keep everybody working together. This is what I had to do. And so stew, a big pot of soup, okay, warm, grounding, root vegetables. I had a tea station, various Tulsi. If you don't know about Tulsi, don't worry, because we are going to have a video on all the joys of Tulsi and the wonderful things that you can do with it. I'm growing some right now. Excited. So Tulsi tea, Tulsi with ashwagandha. It's an herb. It's a sweet basil. To me, it smells like juicy fruit. And I know we're going off topic, but you remember juicy fruit gum? Like it has that smell to me. And so it's important because it's an adaptogenic. So it helps the body deal with stress. That's what we needed. So I had different varieties of Tulsi teas. And that's what I was serving. And everything that I put out, the next day I made black bean brownies, black beans, almond butter, maple syrup, healthy ingredients, organic, spices. But also, what are the healing properties behind the foods? And depending on the person, to make sure that they got, I made a quiche. That's all they could do at that point. There was nothing else I could do besides answering questions. But what I did was I relied on my practices from Ayurveda to find as many ways as I could to help heal people in the process of this could be a very bad trauma. So how are we going to set up their nervous system? And we didn't know. We didn't know we were going to find her. We didn't know what happened. She went missing, right? It was so scary. And they were all in my house. And I've got 12 people in my house at one time. And I grounded myself, and I was doing breathing, and I was doing breathing exercises with people. And I had incense, and I had candles, and I had the Pandora, I'm going to say hippie music, chanting, ohms, all this kind of stuff, right? I had blankets for people so that they can hold themselves, like just some comfort and stay warm. I was looking at the different angles and aspects of mind, body, spirit, of foods, of spices, of the healing properties of those foods, the benefits of anything that would be ingested. How else can I tap in to the senses? So that's another way in to the body. And, some joking, some lighthearted stuff. I'm from Jersey, all right? So we started to hit a point. My birthday crown. We had a point where it was getting a little scary, but the funny thing is I'm in New Mexico, all right? And I'm from New Jersey. When I'm with my friends and it's a good time, and I don't drink, I just mean I'm with my friends and it's a good time, Jersey comes out. When I am very scared or like an emotional state, Jersey comes out. So there were a few moments of empath, Ayurveda, filling out the room. I was also an EMT. I also was a secretary in the detective bureau in my town. And my bestie's daddy was a detective. So being around the cops and her brother. So being around the police is like, what up? Nah, be chill. It's just the cops. That's because that's my experience. And I'm a white woman from suburban New Jersey. So I have a different experience from other people. Straight up. One of the officers came in. The deputy. Not a deputy, sheriff. Sheriff's officer. I guess sheriff's deputy. We don't have those in New Jersey. This is why I keep getting hung up on whatever the heck they call themselves. He wasn't the sheriff, the head guy, but he was the deputy. And he said, we need to ask questions to ascertain whether something nefarious went on here today. And I looked at him. I don't know where it came from. Kind of I do. And I said, you know exactly what you were walking into when you saw a xylophone door knocker at the front door, rocks around the front door as trim, and everything else as you walked into this little cabin. We are hippies of peace and love. We're here to answer your questions. So let's back it up and start over again, right? He was a big man. Now, when I said, he was like a big man. And he looked at me and he was like, but her dad was here, and the girlfriend was here, and I know there was like one or two other people that were here. But just the fact of the way he had come in with this, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I got up in his face. Like the Jersey girl. It was the energy of the empath and the Ayurveda of this is too much fire and I need to cool it down. And I'm willing to be sassy because even though they're suspecting me, I didn't do anything wrong. And I knew that. I knew that I was completely innocent. So I also had no problem with being like, I told you I'm innocent. Just please help us find her. What do you need, right? The officers, they were amazing and lovely and wonderful. So for real, like I was so grateful for the compassion and the kindness that was at least shown to us. There was only two. One that gave me a hard time. I took care of that. This guy didn't give me a hard time. He was just coming in like, oh, we're going to take care of this. I was like, yeah, we are. Sit down, start asking you questions. And while it may have looked like sassy B, it wasn't. The family was scared. The girl's missing. I had to do something to alchemize it, to transmute that energy. And from that moment on, that guy was so cool. He was so cool. And at a moment, like, I remember I was like, I cannot think. I know I look grounded and I know I look calm, but I cannot think. And I need you to help me. And I need you to help me stay focused so that I can get this information to you. He was looking for her address. Or he wanted her address. And I was trying to remember I had only been there one time. And I'm not from around here. So I was doing my best of our new place. And from that point on, I mean, he was a nice man. But there were a few moments where, like, especially the aggressiveness of the second younger fellow that came in, and now he's going to do the same walkthrough that like 5 other people did. It's a one-room cabin. Where are you going, man? Like, I could see you from the corner to this corner. That's okay. They needed to do that. That's fine. I'll take you through. That's fine. That's fine. Stay calm. And then this one other fellow came in and he was aggressive and I could feel the room. I could feel the other people that were here of their anxiety. And I'm listening. How is their tone changing? How are they talking? Are they moving any faster? Is something going on? What else do they need to know? Like, paying attention to this. Were they silent? Were they offering help? Were they crying in the corner? Were they looking at pictures through their phone of her? Right? Have to watch all this and figure out how do I bounce, how do I bounce, how do I bounce? And learning this practice of understanding qualities. Too hot, need to cool down. Too aggressive, need to soften. Too anxious, running away, racing thoughts, chatting, hand movement, body gestures, shaking, tapping. We need grounding. How do we do that? Ping, 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 ping. Would I want to live this way daily? God, no. I don't have any children, okay? So I've been around lots of women that have. So I don't know that I could do this on the daily. I mean, my nerves were shot after this and I had no emotions at all for 2 weeks. Not laughing, not crying, nothing. By day 10, I was like, I think my feelings will come back. No joke. I was like, I really hope they do. I feel nothing. Completely. No laughter, absent. But I also had the tools from my practices for meditation, for yoga, for abhyanga, which is oil massage, for my aromatherapy, for Reiki. Oh, we put Reiki on that situation. I even called in a favor from a friend of mine who was a former rocket scientist with like an $80 million budget and 70 in the staff. This is going to be a fun story later on. Called him to say, I need some help with this because now he's an energy worker. He got woken. He was like, I seen spirits and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, okay, I guess this is my life now. So called him to put some Reiki on this situation as well. Any resources that I could call in, did that. So by expanding one's toolbox, there's a lot to choose from, especially in a situation where you can't think, right? If it's such a routine for you of knowing and practicing, you're not sitting there looking through a book saying, okay, somebody now has a stomach ache. What should we do to help them? Oh, I know. I'm going to make you a tea. I know what food to make you or not make you, right? Like I know those things to go through because it's part of my lifestyle and my practice. So thank God the next day, they had out helicopters, they had out drones, they had search team, people on horses. There were 130 rescuers on this. They had search dogs. But the one that actually found her was the tracker of her shoes. He tracked her shoe. He's like, what kind of shoes you wearing? I said, crappy old Crocs. Like I was nervous, so I was saying some foolish things. So I was just like, crappy old Crocs with no tread. And he's like, okay, I saw that in the front of the vehicle. I said, yes, because I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's how good this guy is, all right? That's impressive. Observation. See how much it can save you? It's incredible. But he saw where I looked. I said, yeah, I went and I looked in to see if like she was laying down in the car or something, why her car was still here. He tracked her shoes and they went to the park and he found it and he followed her to find her. Amazing. So she did have some hypothermia. There was a couple other things. Dehydration. Maybe a little bit. I don't know if there was frostbite, I believe a little bit. But that was her whole story and her whole survival and what she did and her vision quest that she essentially went on because she had no water, no food, no lighter in the snow. Okay. That was her story. But the tracker was the one that found her, and everybody had come back just to say, okay, when she was here, check in, the ambulance, the EMTs, check her out. And then her, her family just had this moment, and we were so grateful that they found her. And when the police left, I looked at everybody and said, I'm so grateful that you were found and you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You need to get out of my house. I'm totally serious. And I was not laughing. My nerves were shot at that point. You gotta go. Have your reunion somewhere else. But through the experience, I found myself several times of like, okay, what else do I know how to do? What else can I apply to this situation? So I'm proposing to you to share in the comments if one type of training or experience in your life saved you elsewhere, helped you out. Maybe you spent an uncle on his, spend a summer with your uncle on a boat and you learn how to tie knots or something. And then a situation came up and you're like, oh, I know how to do that. Or how, it helped you. Because I'm curious. I didn't study Ayurveda so that I could help a group of people not be traumatized. To keep them calm, to keep them grounded, to keep them functioning as optimally as possible. So I would like to hear your stories, and I think it's also important for the other people that will be following this page to read your stories, to learn from them, and also to get a perspective of, wow, I never thought of like by learning that you could actually do that with it, and that would help. But I also propose that you follow along for classes, the free classes, the information that I'm going to be doing, teaching online about Ayurveda, because it really is that powerful. And if you have a tool that can help you in a situation of chaos, to feel like you're so empowered with knowledge and experience that you can call upon it when you need it in unexpected ways, I definitely invite you to learn more about it. I didn't know that I was in training for this, but it worked. And maybe that's something you want to have in your toolbox too. So, leave a message in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Shine your light.